So it seems like forever, but it really has only been about a half day or so that we have been skunked, by which I mean haven't even seen a skunk in terms of wildlife. Look at that fucking guy.
Moxie, Greg, and I are riding around the world to raise $100,000 for the nonprofit Girl Up. We're donating 10% of RUFFLY sales to the fundraiser and posting a new episode every week. It's a big dog on two wheels adventure for girls' empowerment. So follow along and please lend your support. We left British Columbia today and we are now in the Yukon. This is the first time we've actually been in this territory. We've made it through British Columbia. We are here today, and what do we need to do? We need to put a sticker on the sticker wall.
Jess and I have discovered that on a moto trip, there's no sacred cows. What do I mean by that? There's no night where it has to be the perfect camping night. Like, oh, this is our first night in the Yukon, and so it's got to be the best camping night. We've got to have a scenic spot. We've got to by the river, and what? You just set yourself up for disappointment, right? That you set expectations. Instead, you just kind of roll with it in a given spot that feels good, looks good, and, you know, doesn't have too many bugs. That's the spot you want to be. And so after checking out a whole variety of places and getting absolutely swamped by bugs.
Gregory having issues with his GoPro again.
We have found a quarry a bit off the highway that is where they stockpile sandbags, like for floods and things like that. Property of the Yukon government. And it is the fantastic spot for camping. Why? It's flat, it's open, the gravelly ground is soft, all those reasons. No bugs. We're standing here, look, face.
We're not even wearing our things.
We're not wearing our face nets. Don't get so driven to like find the spot by the creek in the forest where it's so beautiful until all of a sudden your face is just a total mess of welts.
Yeah.
I said welt. What do you want to say now? I just kind of
said it all.
I had a thing and I went and I didn't hit the brakes in it. There was no period there. Are you digging your grave?
When we sort of realized that the mosquitoes got really bad, because, you know, everyone talks about Alaska and how, oh, the mosquitoes are horrible, you just get swarmed. And we were like, yeah, we know about mosquitoes, but it was only until we came up to about Prince George in BC, which is not even really halfway up the province. And that's when we started coming across so many mosquitoes. And as we've gone further north, it's gotten worse and worse. So here is our fireman coming with all of the firewood so that we can get this going to get rid of some of these pesky bugs.
Earlier today at Iskut at the general store, I bought myself some fire starters because the last few nights have been brutal in terms of starting fires because everything's been damp. Now we're in the Yukon. They haven't been getting rain, apparently. This quarry is like filled with beautiful dry logs and wood. And then the forest around it is just filled with stuff that's sort of fallen over naturally. And between that, I've got this enormous hole with like no end in sight. So I've got this raging fire, didn't even barely need to blow on it, let alone needing a fire starter. But I still think it was an amazing purchase, just not needed for tonight. Jess, how many layers are you rocking there?
Well, I've got my long johns on.
Did you winterize this morning?
Yeah, a little bit. Especially because my ass was wet because I had all that sap which didn't actually get cleaned on my ass. So I sat on a log yesterday when I was watching Greg doing fishing, and there was a bunch of sap. It got caught on my pants. I tried to wash it last night, and I thought I had gotten it off, and then this morning you could still tell that it was still there. And
Jess, are you out of breath just from taking your pants off?
it's a lot of effort.
Wow.
Okay.
We're like 3 or 4 months out from being gym bugs, and it's really showing, huh?
Goodbye. If you like what we're doing, here's how you can support the Go Roughly Around the World adventure. You can donate to our Girl Up fundraiser, become a Patreon supporter, purchase RUFFLY gear for your dog and everyone you know, and of course, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much, and now back to the adventure.
we are doing everything we possibly can in the protective sphere of the fire. The cooking, certainly, and now the bathing. So Jess is preparing to bathe, and she will do it basically by bathing herself in a mixture of water and smoke. And the smoke actually is good for killing things as well. And it makes sense, right? Because then she won't get her ass bitten up. The only thing, unfortunately, that we can't do in the protective sphere of the fire is pooping. Time for a late morning snack and some fishing.
We're at this beautiful little pull-off, right by the roadside on our way to Whitehorse to try and do some fishing because it looked perfect. I tried and didn't get anything. I think that we need to get like bait and do some bait fishing. I think that the spoons that we have just are not working. Because it's not possible that we've been fishing now it's been 4 or 5 different rivers or lakes and not have gotten anything. So when we get to Whitehorse, we're going to have to go to a bait and tackle place and actually get some bait. But I enjoy just trying it. It's like playing the lottery for me. So I'm enjoying just coming out and giving it a try.
We have reached the Yukon River, which means it's time for a snack. But also sort of time for a little bit of reflection, because the Yukon River is one of those mythical rivers, and at least in my mind, it's always stood out as emblematic of bodies of water in the north. So wide, beautiful river, and it's the Yukon. Well, you look like you're totally winterized. So yes, it's been chilly today. It's been about 10 degrees most of the day. It's gotten down to 8. It's gotten up as far as 12, 13 degrees. Now, finally, it's 16, 17, 18 degrees. It is pleasant. This is pleasant weather. What dog?
This one is coming to us. Get it away. Stay.
If you make a sudden move at the dog, then Moxie will get crazy.
Well, you just needed to go and love the dog a bit further away.
No, I didn't want to love the dog. We've got all these walkers. We've got these walkers with their dogs. Moxie gets very protective when she is cockpitted. So this is her home. Don't fucking touch her home, right? Makes sense. Anyway, Jessica, have you de-winterized yourself?
We're working on it. Well, we need to get to Whitehorse. And then the question is, where are we going to stay in Whitehorse? We have one option so far, which is the Yukon Motorcycle Park, which has these wall tents. The concern with the motorcycle park is that the Wi-Fi is only available in the lodge. And that's the only place that has Wi-Fi. We can only be there until 4 o'clock. After that, they're serving food, and so you need to actually be out of there so that they can have people come in and eat.
So the other issue with that is that it is presumably very social. And we hate socializing. We hate social. Oh,
it's not that.
But it is partly that. It's sort of that in the sense that, yeah, these are not days off for us. On our work days, we are working anywhere from 10 to 13, 14 hours a day. When we can be ultra productive those 3 days that we are not riding. And it has costs. The moto place is obviously less expensive than hotels and Airbnbs. But it also can have a lot of costs because if we don't get work done, then we can't maintain RUFFLY. We can't pay for the trip.
Ooh, and you guys are riding. I'm not good at adventure bikes. 650 and a 700 GS.
Here's Jessica with our foodstuffs, with our groceries. Welcome back.
The time here at the Yukon Motorcycle Park has been slightly miserable, mainly just because of the weather. We came in and it was nice, it was sunny, a little bit of drizzle, and at night everybody was outside hanging out, and that was really cool.
Your beverage.
Thank you. Yummy. Did you stir it? No, he doesn't stir it.
Drink fail. Basically, it's a motorcycle themed campground. They have a bunch of camping spots, just like you'd expect from a provincial park campground. And they also have some wall tents, which are one day going to be heated and powered, but are not yet.
They've got these like tents that have this overhang. So you see that that section is nice and dry. So if you do want to work on your bike or you want to sit outside and it's raining like it is now, at least you do have a bit of a dry section. It started to rain the next day and it rained basically all the 3 days that we've been here. So we've had to stay sort of inside our wall tent or in the restaurant. Drink is back.
Round two.
Ooh, that's yummy.
We finagled ourselves an extension cord that we basically ran through the window, and that's been keeping us powered for the last few days because we've been doing a combination of working in the restaurant and working in bed.
Inside the tent, it's not heated. So it was quite cold. It was like 9 degrees, 7 degrees. The high was like...
Lactose pills, just in case. Never know. It's going to kick you in the gut. What are we doing for cold storage? Because clearly we don't have refrigerators. The idea here is that we're going to see how insulated an aluminum pannier is.
And being in the unheated tent, we were just bundled up. We had our sleeping bags. I had my sleeping bag liner I was tucked into. Then I had their comforter and sheet. And then I had my sleeping bag on top. It was this whole thing. And everything was wet and damp. So it wasn't like the best place to be able to just relax. And it was a bit difficult to get all of our work done that we wanted to.
The absolute only dry spot in the entire campground is right here under my engine and oil reservoir.
I think that once they get everything here, they get electricity set up in the tents, I think that it's going to be a really great place for motorcyclists to come, especially if you're the type of motorcyclist that likes to hang out with other motorcyclists.
It's not built for this to be an ice chest, but we found that it does a pretty good job during the course of a riding day to kind of stay the temperature that it started at. So we're going to see how long this ice holds. And obviously it's not going to hold very long if I keep this thing open. We had an ice test that lasted for a little bit, and then we just decided to leave it out. And now we're boiling it. So at least we've got some nice hot milk for our coffee this morning. We're using our little filament heater inside to keep it warm for the coffee. And yeah, I'm going to make some eggs with some of the bread that we got from the Swiss bakery guy over at RUFFLY. Finish that up. And then we can start heading off into this very weather.
Okay, we'll see you.
Campground thievery. What did you just do? What did you just do?
I took toilet paper. They have a lot in there. And I feel like we paid for it. So I'm just, and for the times where I didn't go here and I went to the RV park, I figure I can just take some for camping tonight.
Jessie, I think that's a lot of justification for just a little bit of toilet paper. I think you're in the clear.
Okay, good. Today, we are on our way to Fairbanks. We've got 2 days to make it to Fairbanks. I am a little bit hesitant about today, mainly because we're going to just be in the rain and we're going to have to camp in the rain and it's going to be cold. And it's basically what we've been doing here. So I'm a little bit not looking forward to that, especially if there are dirt stretches on this. I imagine it's going to be quite slippery because of all the rain that they've been getting.
If you increase, they increase, they increase. By the end of the lineup, they're flying by really. Yeah. For sure. So I hope you have a nice, safe trip. And that is just adorable. Where's my camera? Hey, it's a good boy. Yeah. He doesn't chase rabbits or anything.
Yeah, she'll see things and she'll like want to go, but she's harnessed in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Very, very cute. Yeah. We used to take our little cockapoo on our ATV years ago,
cool.
But he went hunting rabbits. He just.
Gotcha. So we're testing out our Giant Loop Armadillo gas bags. We have 2 gas bags, each with 2 gallons. And we're testing it out so that when we do the trek to the Arctic Ocean, we know what this feels like, or at least Greg knows what it feels like because he's the one who's carrying it all. So he's gonna put them on top of his panniers and he's gonna carry them along. And then at our first rest stop, we're going to fill up the bike so that he has less weight on the bike and our bikes are filled with gas. So that's what we're testing out today here from Whitehorse on our way towards Fairbanks.
Not the ideal sort of weather conditions for a first test of this additional load. Each one is 2 gallons, 7.6 liters, so what is that in pounds? In terms of the load, I guess future Greg who's editing this will have to put it down at the bottom. But that's the additional load that's actually going on the bike. There's a couple of ways to do this, or I guess we're gonna try them out. One is to lay it directly on top of the pannier and strap it down with the rock straps that I already have placed. The other option is an idea that Harold had from Giant Loop.
You could just tuck them in, you know.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Here with the Tillamook's or whatever, if you wanted, that would work well.
So the Tillamook dry bags have the molly system on the side. And so what that could allow is for me to actually run the straps up through the molly loop and essentially place the Armadillo gas bag up against the Tillamook, still using the pannier for support and for the straps. Yikes. This is a no joke Winnebago. Oh, they're only dragging one car behind, so you know. So
Thanks.
really nice looking guy named Mike. He was saying, we were telling him that we're going up to Tuk. And he was saying how when he goes on rides, he goes south, right? So the Yukon guy's like, yeah, no, I'm going south. But, so yeah, as I lean into turns, the sloshing effect can really even throw that weight even further out to the outside. So I really like the idea that Harold had of putting this up against the Tillamook. So we're going to give that a try.
Does it feel heavy, Greg?
I don't know until I get on here, but it's a load. If I can handle it reasonably well in these yucky conditions, then I think we're going to be in good shape for the Dempster.
We're still in the Yukon, and before we get over to Alaska, I finally found the thing that I've been looking for, my Nanaimo bar. So, here at the Village Bakery in Haines Junction, Moxie even found a friend, a little Husky friend, and they have Nanaimo bars. Look at that thing. Oosh, looks so good. I have been waiting all of Canada for a Nanaimo bar, and I finally found it here in the Yukon. It looks lovely, and I can't wait to just bite into it. It's got like that custard filling on the inside, so sweet. And it's got the melted chocolate on the top, and then the coconut chocolate bottom. It's got everything you would never want in a dessert. They also had these quiet raspberry scones. I got the reduced one so that we can get 2, so it was a day old. And they had this freshly baked, it is a cheddar and jalapeno loaf. Greg just went inside, he heated some water so that we can also have some coffees with our scones.
And we got our lattes. What's not to like here? Lunch of champions.
Clarification, Nanaimo bars don't have to be from Nanaimo. They can be made anywhere, but it's just the type of dessert with the 3 layers that is considered a Nanaimo bar. They probably did originate in Nanaimo, but having them here in the Yukon is just as legit as having them in Nanaimo. Moxie's new little Husky friend from the Village Bakery is also a Tractive wearer. So we can actually compete against this little Husky to see who did better in terms of activity today if we look it up on the app. So that's really fun.
So it seems like forever, but it really has only been about a half day or so that we have been skunked, by which I mean haven't even seen a skunk in terms of wildlife. We saw a bear when we last came from British Columbia, just on the other side of the border. And then since we got into Yukon, the only thing was me seeing a fox, kind of a cinnamon color guy. Jess scared him in the grass, kind of perked him, and then that let me see him, and then he bolted off. So I just want it noted that Jess still has not seen a fox. But since then, we've been skunked, and we really want to see a big moose rack. So we're looking deep into the forest, just hoping for a glimpse.
Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the episode. So Moxie is territorial about her cockpit, and for good reason. It is her home. It's her home on two wheels, and she doesn't like it when other dogs come near. So what I try and do is when Greg is nearby and we see a dog that's off leash coming towards us, I tell him to go and greet the dog further away from the cockpit. And that works well, because when the dog starts coming up really close to the cockpit, especially if it's a male dog that's not fixed and it wants to like pee on things to mark it, she gets really worked up. And most of the time she's harnessed in, so she's staying in her cockpit, but she will start barking and alarming. She's a German Shepherd through and through, you know, like she is a protector. She is territorial about the things that matter to her, and her cockpit is one of those things. So I just have to keep that in mind when there are other dogs, especially what really sucks for me is because dog lovers, they want to see Moxie in her cockpit because they think it's really cool too. And if they have their dog with them, it's that thing that you do and you say, "Oh puppy, look at this puppy." You know, it's that same feeling when they want to show off the cockpit to their dog. But it doesn't work really well for us because then they come close and then Moxie gets triggered, and then a lot of the times it triggers the other dog as well. And then we get into this bark fest, and then nobody can really talk because nobody can hear anything, and then it just becomes a stressful situation. So I try, and if I'm by myself with Moxie, I do my best to try and alert if it's a person with their dog, like to stay back. And it's something that we definitely notice at any of the shows that we do where Moxie's up on her cockpit, and it's like Overland Expo, for example, and people are coming through, and they're coming through with their dogs as well. I have to keep a really like close eye out, because it's okay if she barks. She's a dog, she's gonna bark, but a lot of people can get triggered by all of that barking, and it turns it into not the most pleasant atmosphere. And you know, like places like Overland Expo where people are having a really good time, I don't know, I feel it gets me a little bit embarrassed that like my dog is acting up, and she's not acting up. She's doing exactly what she was bred to do, which was to protect, and she's protecting her human and her cockpit. So but it just makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I keep an eye out if there are other people with dogs. And like in the episode where you saw them walking around with their dogs, and she did get a little bit triggered by it. Look, it's not the end of the world. It happens. They're dogs, but I know my dog, so I try my best to get ahead of those situations before they turn into something that can be potentially ugly looking. Greg was making fun of me about my winterizing and de-winterizing. I'm one of those people who gets cold really fast, but then I get hot, like extremely fast. So the best way to deal with that I found is to layer. So if you see, I'm normally wearing like a mesh or a summer or a spring jacket when I'm riding, mainly because it's the same thing with the cockpit. It's way easier to get warm when you're cold than to get cool while you're hot. And that's why I don't like jackets like tour jackets or heavy 3 or 4 season jackets. As much as they have all of the vents in the world, I've worn them. I feel like they're really constrictive for me, and there's not enough airflow in it. And so when it's hot out and you're wearing a 4 season jacket and you don't have any of the liners in and you've got all the vents open up, it still just doesn't feel like enough for me. And because I know that about myself, I've sort of stayed away from those types of tour suits like that. and I do better with a mesh or a really light jacket. And then I layer. So I'll start with like my tank tops, and then I'll put a long sleeve on, and then I'll put a sweater, and then I have a heated vest as well that I'll wear under my riding jacket, and then my riding jacket on top of that. And it's perfect for me, because then depending on, like, when you start off in the day, it could be really cool, you got everything on, and then soon enough you start taking layers off. And it's not like we don't stop. We do a lot of stops. We stop for Moxie, we stop for ourselves, we stop for gas, we stop for a rest, we stop to see things. So it's not like I'm putting stuff on at the beginning of the day and expecting to wear it all throughout the day. That's not how I roll. So it makes it good for me to be able to have these layers that I can just pull off whenever I feel it, or add them on, especially in the evening as it starts to get colder. And then when I'm at the campsite, then I've got all of this great clothing that I can wear to keep myself warm if it's cold at the campsite. So that's just my preference. I've really, like I said, I've tried the 3-4 season jackets, the tour jackets. The other thing I don't love about the tour jackets is that they make you feel like you're like an astronaut. I don't particularly love that look and feel. It just feels and looks really heavy. And one of the things from living in Africa and being an aid worker, you know, when you go into small towns, it's like, it's not that you're never going to blend in. I'm never going to blend in with my blonde hair as much as I would like to in Africa. When I was in South Sudan, that was always sort of my dream. Like, people are not going to notice me. I'll just be like one of the locals. It doesn't happen. You're never going to be, and you have to just accept that, which I do. But it makes communicating with people of a different culture and even of a different language a lot easier if you're not looking like you just like stepped off of a spaceship. You know, it can be really intimidating for somebody who doesn't see tourists often, who has kids around and is anxious about like their kids and who they're interacting with. I like looking and feeling like a normal person, like somebody who is doing this great trip, and I've got my dog with me, but I don't need to look like I'm just like this space woman. It's just not necessary. And if you'll see, all of my stuff is pretty low key in terms of the gear that I wear. And that really works for me the best. And it makes me feel comfortable when I'm communicating with other people of other cultures as well. So that's just another reason why I like the more slimmed down spring summer type jacket gear. You'll see I wear riding jeans as well. Another one of those reasons. I don't like looking like a snowman, and I don't like feeling like a snowman. And I'm sure people are probably thinking, but you said that you get hot easily and you like layers, and what about the jeans? Look, I'm from Toronto. I would often wear jeans in the summer. It's just one of those things, and I've just gotten used to it. So I don't really feel the heat so much on my legs as I do in my upper body. So when I'm riding, I like to have that wind. I like that feeling. It just feels fresh, and that's what makes me feel alive. And that's what I'm going for when it comes to those types of jackets. I hope you guys really enjoyed the episode. Make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you hit that little bell that gives you the notification so that when the new episodes come out, you'll be notified right away. You'll get like a notification on your phone so that you don't miss out on it, because we want to make sure that you guys keep in touch with us throughout this whole adventure. And then at GoRUFFLY for Facebook and Instagram. And the last thing that I wanted to mention again is we do have our Patreon page. So if you love our GoRUFFLY Around the World travel series and you'd like to support us even more, we've got our Patreon page. There's a link in the description below. And there we ask for a donation of whatever you can for your support. And we are providing additional content. So if you'd like to see some more up-to-date videos of where we are in the exact moment and some blogs that we're doing as well, that's the place that you're going to see it if you can sign up and support. So I really appreciate all of you out there for watching. I hope that we'll see you soon, and make sure that you're subscribed so that you can tune in for our next episode next week. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon.